I absolutely love that original Beetlejuice. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. I loved watching it as a kid, and I still love watching it today. I love that original movie. And when I heard they were doing a sequel, I didn't feel good about it. But they brought back Michael Keaton, and they brought back Tim Burton. So I sat down in this movie theater, and I was like, all right, don't ruin my childhood. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice stars Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, and is about still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter Astrid accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. From director Tim Burton, the man that brought you the original Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Batman, Big Fish, I mean, he's got classics and he has a style. We are now talking Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, but let's just call it Beetlejuice 2 to make it a lot easier on all of us. So, like I said, I went in this movie theater just excited at the thought of bringing this world back, but I was just scared because we all know how these sequels work. Like 30 years after the original, a lot of these movies don't usually work, but they brought back like all of the ingredients to make this one good. But that doesn't make it a hit because Tim Burton, in my opinion, hasn't been on a hot streak at all recently. I can't remember last time I saw one of his movies that I actually really enjoyed. So again, I just went into this movie theater with my friend who's never seen the original Beetlejuice. We sat in a packed theater, and I left the theater, and I really didn't know what to say for the first 10 minutes because my friend was talking about it, and I was like, I don't know how to go into this. So let me just start off by saying this. If you are a fan of Beetlejuice, go see this movie. If you're a fan of the musical, give this one a chance because I haven't seen the musical. But I can tell you this, it's not better than the original, but this movie has a lot of good and a lot of bad, unfortunately. But let's, of course, begin with the positives. Man, oh man, this movie looks so good. Oh my gosh, I saw this in IMAX. It looked great. The colors, the production, just the clothing, the costuming, the makeup. Oh my gosh, the prosthetics and the makeup they use in this movie. It's so cool to see movies not rely on CGI. This movie does have CGI. I saw a report saying this movie has no CGI. No, it definitely has CGI. But there is a lot of just prosthetics, makeup, animatronics. It felt like that original movie. It even has claymation, a plane crash scene, and the worms that we saw in the first one. It is just so good to look at. Looking at the movie, I was like, I'm in love with this world. Like the production value they bring to this movie, the underworld afterlife stuff that we get to go in this movie, which is a lot more seen in this one compared to the first one. I was in love with it. I wanted to be in this world. I loved seeing all the dead people and all like the different characters they created. It brought back that world of Beetlejuice. It helps when you have Danny Elfman doing the score and he brings back his original scores. It works so well for us Beetlejuice fans. And my friend, who hasn't seen the first one, she loved the colors, the lightings, the red, the blue, the greens. She was like, the movie was filmed so nice and so well. And that also includes this cast. I think we'll get to my issues, but everyone in this movie does their part. Michael freaking Keaton, man. He's one of my favorite actors. If you don't know, I honestly would put him as probably my favorite. I love that man, and man, he fits back into this role like it was nothing. Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice. He is perfect. He is great. He's witty. He's just like he was in the first one. I will say he's definitely more on the good side in a lot of this movie. I wish there was more bad, but we'll get to that. But this movie, when he's on screen, man, he's just eating everything up. Catherine O'Hara, she was hilarious. To me, this movie, the big laughs came from her. I thought she was hilarious in this movie. Winona Ryder, very good in this movie. I loved her interesting character compared to the first one. Now that she's a celebrity and she's the woman that talks to ghosts, whatever, I found that really interesting. But the most interesting character, and probably, if it wasn't for Michael Keaton, the best performance in this movie, Jenna Ortega. She's flat out awesome in this movie. Her storyline between her and a boy in this movie, I found to be the most interesting. And there's a great theme of passing on and moving on from people who have died in your life. And her and Winona Ryder have amazing chemistry. Jenna Ortega is such a talent. We already knew she worked well with Tim Burton from Wednesday. She is so freaking good in this movie. Like I said, most of everyone in this movie is very good. Justin Theroux, I forget how to say his last name. He's good in the movie. Monica Bellucci's in the movie, which we'll get to her. You got Willem Dafoe in the movie. It's a big cast, but for the most part, our main core, all of them just fit right back into this world. And man, there is so many funny scenes in this movie. There's some dry parts, but when the comedy hits, I was laughing. And I was like, man, this is pretty funny. And it came from Michael Keaton and Catherine O'Hara. There's one scene with Winona Ryder making a certain noise that really got under my skin. Like, I found it really funny. I giggled a lot. But, again, going back into this world, experiencing the score, seeing on the big screen, the makeup and all that, like, I loved looking at this movie. Tim Burton really did a good job with this product. It made it feel like a Tim Burton movie in some of the best ways. But, there is a but, and unfortunately, it's kind of a big but. The script is a mess, and I cannot tell you, there is so many characters and there is too many storylines, and I want to get kind of into it a little bit without spoiling it. There is a storyline between Jenna Ortega and a boy that to me was so intriguing and so like enthralling that more of the Beetlejuice stuff that we did get in the beginning didn't feel needed. There was a point in this movie where I was like, I don't feel like Beetlejuice needs to show up until this point, but when he does show up in the beginning, it just feels like it wasn't earned. Like, it was just like here's a shot. Oh, there's Beetlejuice. I was like, oh, I thought there'd be a little more grand of an entrance. And there's moments in this movie where I'm like, okay, this could have been a point where you brought in Beetlejuice and it would have made more sense in the story. Because he has a storyline with Monica Bellucci. And listen, Monica Bellucci is fine in the movie. She did not need to be in this movie, man. Like, literally, her storyline did nothing for this movie. Because in the first movie, Beetlejuice is the bad guy. In this movie, the movie treats her like our main bad guy. When you see the movie, it doesn't feel like it, because they try to set it up in the beginning, but then halfway, it's like you forget about her. And then the ending, you're like, okay, here's our big thing. And it's like, oh, wait, that's it? And there's a storyline with Jenna Ortega and this boy. You're like, okay, this is interesting. And then just cuts off. It's like, what are we doing all these storylines and just ending them and like, oh, moving on. Some of the most interesting things were in those storylines. And when I walk away from this movie, I sit there and I say, I loved Willem Dafoe. I like seeing him on Bellucci. Both their characters, both their storylines didn't need to be in this movie. Willem Dafoe was funny in the movie. His character and what he was in life before entering the afterlife, it's pretty funny and quirky, but it wasn't needed, man. Like, he brought up screen time that I was like, I'd rather be watching Winona Ryder, Jenna Ortega, Beetlejuice. And it really takes away from the movie. It takes away from the story. There was a story there with Jenna Ortega, this boy, going into the afterlife and then dealing with Beetlejuice. Get rid of Monica Bellucci. Get rid of Willem Dafoe. Get rid of, like, Catherine O'Hara and what she's doing, even though it was funny. It didn't add to, like, the main story that felt good. This movie had really good dramatic beats, shockingly, but in the end, it's just covered by a lot of mech and just a lot of stuff that just didn't work in the story, to a third act that, honestly, it was fine and all, but it definitely felt like a complete rehash of the original movie, without spoiling it if you haven't seen the original, so take that with that you will. I liked the ending, but, like, it definitely was like, okay, the whole movie felt like a different sequel with different characters and different worlds. That's cool. Do something new. The ending was like, all right, we're going to do the original ending. We'll change this a little bit, but we're going to do the original ending. I'm just like, dang it, like, you were there. But in the end, the movie's fun. The movie has great characters. The movie has fun world building. And in the end, I will say it, I wouldn't mind seeing a third Beetlejuice if they wanted to, but I do think this movie is bogged down by just subplot, too many characters, too many things happening, when that original movie just had a simple ghost family in a house trying to get someone out. This has 5 different subplots all converging into a third act that just feels muddled and disjointed, and then it just ends up being the original, and that was a little disappointing. But again, I would watch it again. I enjoyed Michael Keaton. I enjoyed Tim Burton bringing back Beetlejuice. I'm gonna give Beetlejuice a B-. Now the question is, was I disappointed? I think overall, I had a fun time. I would watch it again. I'll probably buy it and watch it again another time. So that's 2 more times I'm going to watch this movie. But I will say it could have been better, and it had the ingredients to be better, but I do think it fell a little short of being like a good movie. I would say it was a fun, okay movie. That's my like initial like quick thought. If you want to get that like on a 1 sentence review, that's my quick thought. And guys enjoy this movie review. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.